Welcome to WholeCEO with Lisa G. I'm the best-selling author of The Boss Weight Loss. I'm bringing you the top tips to be unstoppable. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually pull up a chair with today's top experts in mindset, weight loss, business, and more. Learn our top tips so that you can have more energy, be fit and resilient, feel unstoppable, unshakable, and unbreakable. She's the CEO and co-founder of SkinTē, the first ever sparkling wellness soda with collagen, positioned at the intersection of beauty, food, and wellness. The brand is experiencing rapid growth, was a finalist for Best Ingestible 2 years in a row by IBE, and has now been recognized by media, including the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Inc., Allure, Goop, US Weekly, Entrepreneur, PopSugar, and WWD. Bassima Mroue, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I love talking to women that have it all going on like you. It's so impressive. I want to inspire my audience to just keep going. So let's just dive a little bit into why did you start SkinTē and what makes the product and brand unique?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're three female founders. If you can see them, it's the women behind me.
I love that.
Myself, a chef, and a doctor. And, we like to say we all started the brand because we were going through major life transitions, and some of us were kind of breaking down at the time. So for me, I was working at Nike for 10 years, loved the company, but the last couple of years, my health was shutting down. I had to get back surgery. And so my surgeon at the time told me, I want you to take collagen. It was back in 2014, which I hadn't heard much of. So I was doing collagen before, during, and after to actually heal from the back surgery. Wow. And then my colleagues from Nike were coming over and going, you just look like you went to a spa. And so that's the first time I had an aha moment where I was like, oh, wow, it's this collagen stuff. And I was also doing teas and herbs to calm me. And so when I went to my naturopathic doctor's office, her name is Dr. Amy Bader, who's my co-founder as well. I complained and I just said, hey, do you have something that tastes better? Because I'm sick of the powders. I'm sick of the bone broth. I want it, I want it to just taste better. Do you have a better brand? And she had just become a single mom. She'd gone through a divorce. Right. Her best friend, Elizabeth, who's our third co-founder, had the most tragic loss of a child at 2.
Oh my gosh.
Very sad. And the two of them had worked together to combine herbs and teas and recipes to give to Amy's patients just on the side. So she gives me this recipe, which is fabulous, but it takes too long because I'm having to buy all these herbs and source this great collagen. So I came back and said, this tastes good, but can you just make it for me and I'll buy it? And she was like, we're, kind of like, no, that's not what we do. And I was like, well, I'll help you pro bono. And I took her to Starbucks and said, let's write a business plan. And I want you to do this. And long story short, she said, we're not doing it without you. So it was very intuitive. As three women, we just went and signed legal papers and said, we're going to do this. And that's really how it started.
I love that story because I love it because so many people right now are going through something. I know it's been a hard couple of years for me and everybody else on the planet. And I started this podcast to help people just be unstoppable and take the resilience and grit from these times and know that tough times don't last, but tough people do. So out of adversity came a wonderful product. I've tried it. It's wonderful. And let's dive in to, as a female, what does it take to fundraise and what are the challenges?
Yeah, it is really hard. I'm always honest about it. Fundraising, it's really, it tests you on every level. It tests you emotionally, it tests you physically, your stamina. Right. But it was also the best thing I ever done. I didn't think I would ever be in a position where I've raised $14 million. And I never thought I would be out there fundraising like this. And, beverage is capital intensive. You have to raise the money. Yeah. And taking other people's money as a woman was very hard for me at first because I valued my independence. Right. And I valued kind of being able to support myself. And all of a sudden I'm asking for money. And I really learned so much about myself, the tone in which I ask, how I ask, how men, the way they position it as an opportunity, and we position it as like, oh my God, thank you, thank you. So I think through this journey, I've grown so much and gotten to know myself and really learned about the, human nature and how we are. So it's difficult, it's not easy, but it is a wonderful experience. And when you believe in your product so much and you
Yeah.
can tell that story, you learn how to sell it to investors at every stage, and they look for
Yes.
different things at every stage. So it's been
They
quite a journey.
buy they buy your belief. So
Yes.
do you think it comes from just acting as if you're more confident, like a guy trying to fundraise in the beginning, as well as your foundation story and your brand story and believing in it?
I learned that, it's really interesting because even being at Nike, I learned that instead of trying to be like a guy, I learned about, to your point, the confidence was more important than acting like them, because we have our own feminine confidence. And I think, that's really important. So I think for me, it was more about the feeling secure and valuing yourself and knowing that you have something really special. The confidence then comes from there to ask for it.
Yes.
So I think,
Yeah.
in the beginning, they're buying into your story and your vision. And then once you've launched and you're there, they're looking for proof points. So it's really psychological, trying to understand what are they looking for at that time and really addressing that. And that makes you confident because you're addressing the things they're looking for.
Yeah, so you not only have to be confident because you believe in yourself. I mean, a great brand story, 3 female founders. I love that. But you actually have to have a quality product that's making sales.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what they're looking for, is the numbers too.
Or that has the potential. So if you can show proof points, that's something a lot of entrepreneurs ask me about. It's not about it all being perfect. The entrepreneurial journey is actually very hard, and most investors actually understand that, the best ones. It's
Yeah.
more showing like, hey, we pivoted. How do we operate as a team? Or, here's a proof point about what, the scalability of this product in this area. And here's a couple other proof points around how we have a path to profit. So it's really thinking about all those different things. It doesn't need to be perfect, and I don't think they expect it to, but it does get to a point like with what happened with recently in this summer. Suddenly profitability became so important to investors. So really focusing on that part of the story became more important than just top line sales, which used to be more important than
Yeah.
profitability. It's really interesting. Yeah.
So it has to have like all the things. Like you have to have the good product. They have to see the scalability, even if you're not yet profitable. If your vision is one with a scalable plan,
Exactly.
ascension plan.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I hope you guys are inspired as much as I am about what it really takes. Like, how could you actually like leave a secure corporate job that you had such a wonderful job and start your own company? I love the confidence there.
I get that question a lot more, like, are you crazy? Because, I worked with some of the best companies, like so honored, Spanx. I worked for Nike. I was really, really lucky. But I think what it is if you are tied to an identity or understand what that is, right? Like, are you afraid to fail? What is it that you're afraid of? Really facing that and going to the worst place and then realizing it's not that big of a deal. And that if you look at entrepreneurs before you, tons of them failed over and over and
Right.
over before they got to where they are. So I'm lucky I had great teachers. I learned from Sarah Blakely. I was
Oh,
very
wow.
lucky.
I admire
Yeah,
her.
she's phenomenal. So I just got to learn from one of the best brand companies like Nike in the world, and what they've been able to do, and then learn from one of the best, entrepreneurs who was self-funded. So I'm lucky. And I think that's one of those things of surrounding yourself with people that you can learn from. And if you can't learn directly from them, read the books and read the stories, and you'll realize really fast that you just got to take the risk and go for it if you believe in it. I would say that, a lot of people ask me, were you okay being financially insecure? I had made sure I'd saved up almost 2 years
Oh,
in my bank
wow.
account. So yeah, because I didn't take a salary for 2 years. So I do think you need to go into it kind of with a plan of like, okay, do I have a family to support? And if I do, am I going to get the support, for this? Because with startups, typically, you're not going to take a big salary as a founder. It's
Yeah.
expected that you're not. So you have to also be aware. I like went down to a tiny studio in LA after living in a really nice place. And it's when you face your values. Do I value more this journey that may
Yeah.
fail versus do I value material things? And in my case, I really valued the journey. And I wanted the growth that came with that journey. So that was kind of how I approached it.
Oh, there's so much to unpack there. I mean, I've heard Sarah Blakely interviewed, and I love her resilience and grit and how she believed in her product and how she actually pounded the pavement like
Right.
herself. And she had what, 5K, like startup money in the beginning of her own money?
Yep, exactly. No, she's got a phenomenal story, and she didn't raise anything until recent. I mean, until she sold, she was 100% self-funded, which is incredible.
I love how authentic and real she is. Like I follow her on LinkedIn and social media and just her real stuff with the family. It's wonderful. And Nike is such a great example of a brand that you just see one little swoosh and you like know who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to be willing to enjoy the journey. Like when I first started, that was hard for me. I started like maybe 6 years ago trying to build my personal brand and stand out in social media. And I always had like this timeline attached, like I'll be here by then, like buying into all the stuff that coaches are telling you, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I would be competing with other people in my head. And so I think, so I want you guys to really listen to all these things. Entrepreneurship is hard
Yeah.
and don't compare, enjoy the
Yeah.
journey. And do you have any other lessons you want to leave our audience with about how they can be unstoppable and just fail forward like we all have?
Life's too short. I always tell myself that life is too short. There's two things that ground me. One is how short life is. I've seen a lot of, you know, there's sudden deaths and things that happen, and you kind of look back and go, I should, just take the risk. And then the other thing is, you know, I really believe in this saying, the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again, by Einstein. I swear by those two things, because if you want to change your life and you just keep doing the same thing and you're complaining and you're unhappy, then that's insane. You got to take a risk and try something different, whether it's entrepreneurship or anything else. And then also just knowing life's too short, and not taking risks and not trying things is something you'll regret more than staying where you are. So I'm a huge believer in those two things, and they ground me along the journey.
I love the lessons learned there, and I love the inspiration. And for me, I remember the pandemic was hard, and I was like not in a growth mode, really. I was more stuck. So I'd love to also find the silver linings of adversity and have the grit and resilience to stay the course, you guys, stay the course. And where can people find more of Bassima and SkinTē?
Oh, thank you. We're follow us at SkinTē. We have about 100,000 followers plus, and we love our community. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, so that's a great way to reach us. And my personal Instagram as well is just Bassima Mroue. So it's pretty easy to find. But yeah, no, I'm with you. When COVID hit, and I can honestly say in the moment, I'm so irritated, and I don't feel this way. But every time I look back at a really big problem or a really big challenge, we've emerged stronger and smarter, hands down. There's not one moment when that didn't happen where something better came out of it. It's just so easy to look in retrospect and smile at that. But it actually now has become a muscle where in the moment, when something is really challenging, I remind myself of that. And that's really helped me just shorten the time between I'm so angry and pissed off and scared. Like, let's get back up and just kill it. So that's a huge learning for me as well, is to shorten that time frame,
Well,
because we always get back up. Yeah.
thanks for sharing your SkinTē success story. I'm so impressed and so inspired. And I hope to see you again on the podcast soon, Bassima.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming to WholeCEO with Lisa G. After over 20 years helping people lose weight and get fit, I'm so excited to announce that I found the missing link with my coaching. Message me if you want to learn how to look better, feel better, and go faster with a master. Lisa G at lisagfit.com.